I'm in Vittendale, Pennsylvania today on the Ghost Town Trail in Indiana County, Pennsylvania. And my wife and I are going to visit a couple of charcoal iron furnace ruins. Actually very well preserved ruins. The first one we're going to visit is right down the road behind me, the Eliza Furnace. And we'll see you there in a couple of minutes. This is the Eliza Furnace, just outside Vittendale on the west side. It's one of the very few charcoal blast furnaces that was heated with a hot blast. The blast air passed through those iron pipes that were heated literally by the hot gases coming off the top of the furnace or coming out of the top of the furnace. This is one of the very few surviving heat exchangers on a hot blast furnace in situ still remaining in North America. As we come around to the left here, you see the hot blast line coming down from the heat exchangers at the top there, and the hot air would have been coming down that pipe and would have come into this arch through a funnel called a tweer. And the tweer blew hot air into the widest part at the bottom of the stack, near the bottom of the stack, I should say, above the hearth, which was the bottom, where the actual molten material was tapped. And here you see the arch. We went in here, perhaps the light. Yeah, there we go. You can see things are blocked up a little bit, but that's the arch there. These furnaces were fed by wheelbarrow at the top of the furnace. There would have been, in the time of the working years, there would have been a bridge across from the top of the furnace going back into that hillside. And up on that hillside would have been the stockhouse where charcoal and other raw materials, iron ore and limestone for fluxing, would have been held. And they would have come across that bridge. Men would have wheeled them across in wheelbarrows, and they would have dumped them into the top of the furnace. We're looking at the working arch here. This would have been where the molten pig iron was tapped periodically. This furnace operated from about 1845 to 1847. Not very long. It wasn't successful, but it did produce over 1,000 tons of pig iron in a year when it was in blast. This arch was probably the arch where the slag, which was the molten mess that floated on top of the molten iron as it settled to the bottom of the stack inside here, would have been tapped out before the pig iron below it would have been tapped out and would have run off into molds in the cast house floor off to the left here. The slag, which floated on top of the molten iron, then would have been run out first. You tapped the slag off the top, and when the slag stopped running, then it was safe to tap the iron below it to run out onto that cast house floor. So I'm standing probably on top of a big pile of granulated slag, which is a lot like crushed limestone. In fact, in later years it was sought after as an aggregate in concrete sidewalks and streets. And the parks people have made some wonderful storyboards here for visitors. Here's one on iron making at Eliza Furnace. Here's the people of Eliza Furnace. Nice pyramid of showing the relative number of people involved at the various levels of making iron, going from woodcutters. What do you need woodcutters for? Well, these furnaces were fueled by charcoal, so you needed woodcutters to cut the cordwood to make into charcoal. And here's a storyboard on how they made charcoal. Let's get mounted up and head off down the road, or I should say the railroad. The Ghost Town Trail was the Black Lick and Ebensburg Railroad, which was eventually, probably soon after it was built, taken over by the Pennsylvania Railroad and became part of the Pennsylvania Railroad's Indiana branch. Indiana, Pennsylvania, Indiana County, not Indiana the state. About midway in our journey is Dilltown, which used to be one of the trailheads, but now it's just in the middle of the trail because the trail's been extended so far. The Dillweed Bed and Breakfast and Trailside Shop, and we can both highly recommend the chicken salad sandwich on flatbread. Hit the spot. And they have Diet Dr. Pepper, which is just an added bonus. So yes, shout out to the Dillweed Bed and Breakfast and Trailside Shop. Buena Vista Furnace is another an 1840s furnace that only lasted for a couple of years. And Buena Vista Furnace is named after the battle in the Mexican War in the 1846-47 period. The furnace stack here is partially in ruins. Coming around here, you can see that the western face, the northwestern corner, has more or less collapsed, probably due to ice and snow melt and so on over the years getting into the dry masonry. This furnace is accessible by a short spur trail, about a 100-yard spur coming down from the junction with the Ghost Town Trail. The junction is just up around the bend there. Flowers growing out of the tapping arch. You can see here, look at this, you can see the sandstone blocks down there along the hearth. And as my wife pointed out, the quality of the stonework seems to be, masonry stonework here, seems to be much more refined. You can see, look, the chisel marks. Look at the chisel marks. Hand chiseled. You can see all these stones were hand chiseled. I'll walk around the base of the stack. Beautiful fungus. We're here at the map display next to the wetlands, the artificial wetlands reclamation program. And you can see the timeline of the town here etched in these nice polished stones, and there are some wonderful etchings based on old photographs. There's the powerhouse. There's a picture of the Fittendale Band color guard. And this is a mosaic based on a Sanborn fire insurance map of the town of Vittendale at its height. And the blue there is the Blacklit Creek. And you can see the coal mine and the coke ovens on the other side of the creek. I'll tell you what, if there's a interest in doing research on the industrial towns and cities of Pennsylvania, the Sanborn Insurance Company maps, which are digitized and in the Penn State Library system, and also the Carnegie Mellon University Hunt Library collection, are a treasure trove.